Why does the loudest man in the room rarely hold true power? Why does real confidence often hide in silence? In a world obsessed with bravado and self-promotion, society often mistakes noise for strength. Yet, true power lies not in those who demand attention, but in those who command it without effort. This essay unveils the one dark trait at the heart of genuine confidence: emotional detachment and unreadability. Far from the flashy displays of dominance, this subtle mastery over self and perception wields unparalleled influence. Drawing from the ancient wisdom of Niccolò Machiavelli and modern psychological insights, we will explore why this quiet, enigmatic trait outshines performative boldness every time. Machiavelli, the master of calculated restraint, understood that true power stems from controlling how others perceive you while remaining inscrutable. Psychology backs this up, revealing how emotional detachment fosters resilience and strategic clarity, allowing individuals to navigate complex social dynamics with ease. Society may equate confidence with loudness and visibility, but real strength is darker, quieter, and far more potent. In the following sections, we will dissect this trait, its roots, and its transformative potential, revealing why those who master it hold the reins of influence in a world distracted by noise. The illusion of loud confidence. Society often equates loudness with strength, mistaking boisterous displays for confidence. This misconception fuels a culture obsessed with quick reactions and visible emotion, where social media amplifies outrage, performative reactions, and emotional oversharing. Platforms like X thrive on this dynamic. Users compete for attention with viral rants or exaggerated displays of passion, chasing likes and retweets. These performances, however, are less about conviction and more about seeking validation, creating a cycle where the loudest voices are mistaken for the most authoritative. Loud confidence is fragile because it exposes vulnerability. Broadcasting emotions or opinions invites scrutiny and manipulation. A reactive outburst, say a heated thread on X, can be weaponized by opponents who exploit emotional triggers to provoke or discredit. This reactivity signals a lack of control, where external stimuli dictate behavior. For example, influencers who overshare personal struggles often face backlash or manipulation by followers who feel entitled to their emotional lives. Loudness, in this sense, becomes a leash, tethering the individual to the crowd's whims. In contrast, quiet confidence commands respect through restraint. The person who says less but is heard more embodies this. Their words carry weight because they're deliberate, not driven by ego or the need for approval. Consider a leader who listens intently and speaks sparingly. Their rare input silences a room, not because it's loud, but because it's grounded in mastery. Quiet confidence stems from self-assurance, not the need to prove oneself. While loud confidence seeks an audience, quiet confidence draws one naturally. The difference lies in ego versus mastery. Loudness often masks insecurity, a need to dominate the narrative before doubts creep in. Mastery, however, is rooted in competence and self-awareness, requiring no fanfare. On X, you'll see this in users who post sparingly but with insight, cutting through the noise of performative rants. Their restraint signals strength, not fragility. Society's obsession with loudness rewards fleeting attention, but undermines genuine influence. True confidence doesn't shout, it resonates. In a world of emotional oversharing and reactive outrage, the quietly confident stand apart, proving that real power lies not in volume, but in substance. Machiavelli's philosophy hinges on the art of perception, where controlling what others see and believe shapes reality itself. In The Prince, he argues that power rests not in raw force, but in the calculated image a ruler projects. Emotional detachment, a cornerstone of his doctrine, is not mere coldness, but a strategic tool to maintain dominance. A ruler who reveals desperation or hunger risks vulnerability, inviting exploitation. By masking emotions, one controls the narrative, ensuring others see only what serves the ruler's purpose. This psychological principle, control perception to control reality, relies on the fear of the unknown. Silence and unreadability unnerve others, creating a psychological edge. A ruler who betrays no emotion becomes unpredictable, forcing subordinates and rivals to second-guess their moves. This opacity breeds caution in others, amplifying the ruler's influence without a single word or action. Machiavelli's ideal prince wields this stillness not as passivity, but as concentrated power, a deliberate choice to obscure intentions and maintain leverage. The paradox of stillness lies in its dual nature. It appears weak, but is profoundly strategic. Emotional detachment can seem like aloofness or indifference, yet it signals strength. A leader who weeps publicly risks appearing frail. One who remains stoic, even in crisis, projects unyielding control. Consider a modern CEO navigating a corporate scandal. A calm, measured response, devoid of panic, reassures stakeholders and deters opportunistic rivals. This restraint, though perceived as cold, stabilizes power by denying others the chance to exploit emotional cracks. Machiavelli advises rulers to embody both the lion's force and the fox's cunning. Detachment serves as the fox's mask, shielding strategy from prying eyes. A ruler who betrays no fear or desire can strike decisively when least expected, their motives hidden until the moment of action. Historical examples, like Cesare Borgia's calculated betrayals, illustrate this. Borgia's unreadable demeanor allowed him to outmaneuver foes, his detachment cloaking ruthless ambition as disciplined restraint. Ultimately, emotional detachment is not about suppressing humanity, but mastering its display. By controlling emotions, a ruler controls perception, and thus reality. This dark trait, unfeeling yet deliberate, ensures power remains intact, projected not through loud displays, but through the quiet menace of the unknown. The psychological mechanics behind stillness and silence. Carl Jung's concept of the shadow refers to the unconscious aspects of the personality that the ego rejects or denies, often traits or emotions deemed undesirable, such as fear, anger, or vulnerability. These repressed elements don't vanish. They lurk beneath the surface and often manifest through projection, where individuals attribute their own fears or insecurities to others. When someone encounters a person who embodies stillness or silence, qualities that render them unreadable, it disrupts the usual social cues and triggers discomfort. This unreadability, a form of psychological opacity, becomes a mirror that reflects the observer's shadow, exposing their hidden anxieties. Silence and stillness unsettle because they defy the human need for predictability and control in social interactions. When someone remains quiet or emotionally reserved, they withhold the expected feedback loops, smiles, nods, or verbal affirmations that others rely on to gauge approval or intent. This ambiguity creates a vacuum, and the mind, uneasy with uncertainty, fills it with projections. The silent individual becomes a blank canvas onto which others project their fears. Are they judging me? Do they know something I don't? This discomfort often provokes overcompensation. People may talk excessively, reveal too much, or become visibly anxious as they attempt to resolve the tension. Their insecurities, typically buried, bubble to the surface in the face of someone who refuses to conform to social scripts. This dynamic tilts the social balance. The unreadable person, by doing less, becomes the frame to which others adjust. Their stillness commands attention, subtly shifting power. Others may second-guess themselves, seeking approval or clarity, which grants the silent individual a quiet form of control. This isn't manipulation, but a natural consequence of withholding predictable responses. The less you reveal, the more others project, and the more they adjust to you. Emotional sovereignty lies at the heart of this dynamic. Stillness isn't numbness. It's the ability to feel deeply while choosing what to express. It's mastery over the impulse to react impulsively, allowing one to navigate emotions without being ruled by them. This self-possession unnerves others because it contrasts with the common tendency to externalize feelings. By maintaining composure, the still individual not only preserves their inner equilibrium, but also influences the emotional climate around them, exposing the projections and insecurities of others while remaining grounded in their own truth. Real-world examples of the dark trait in action. The dark trait, often characterized by quiet confidence, emotional restraint, and deliberate selectivity, manifests powerfully across various domains. Far from being cold or arrogant, this trait reflects a calculated approach to influence and presence, often mistaken for aloofness, but commanding respect through its subtlety. In the workplace, consider the quiet leader whose opinion is awaited. They don't dominate meetings with verbose input or seek attention through constant chatter. Instead, they listen intently, processing information before speaking. When they do, their words are precise, insightful, and grounded in observation, making colleagues pause and listen. This restraint signals confidence and competence, fostering trust. For example, a project manager who rarely speaks but delivers a single, well-timed suggestion can shift the entire direction of a discussion, their silence amplifying their authority. This contrasts with those who over-communicate, diluting their impact. In relationships. In personal relationships, the dark trait appears in the emotionally detached partner, who neither begs nor over-explains. They maintain boundaries, expressing affection or concern selectively rather than effusively. This creates a dynamic where their attention feels earned, not given freely, fostering respect and attraction. For instance, a partner who calmly addresses conflict without emotional outbursts can de-escalate tension, their restraint signaling strength. This selectivity in emotional energy avoids clinginess, making their affection more valued. However, this detachment can be misread as disinterest, requiring clear communication to balance perception. In social dynamics socially, the dark trait shines in those who resist the noise of social media and groupthink. They don't chase trends or overshare, gaining influence through restraint. A public figure who posts sparingly but with substance, like a writer sharing one profound essay amid a sea of fleeting posts, stands out. Their scarcity creates intrigue, drawing followers without pandering. Yet, this reserved nature is often mistaken for arrogance or coldness, as people project insecurity onto their confidence. The dark trait's power lies in its refusal to conform, proving that less noise can mean more impact. In each sphere, the dark trait leverages silence and selectivity to command attention, though its subtlety invites misinterpretation. Understanding its intent reveals not coldness, but a strategic mastery of presence. Why society fears this dark trait? The trait of calculated stillness embodied in silence, restraint, and unreadable demeanor, unsettles society because it defies the expectation of constant performance and transparency. In a world that prizes loud expression and immediate reactions, stillness disrupts the rhythm of social interaction. It creates gaps that others feel compelled to fill, often with discomfort or suspicion. People are wired to explain the unknown, and when faced with someone who remains composed and opaque, they project their insecurities, assuming hidden motives or malevolence. This unease stems from a primal need for predictability in social exchanges, which stillness subverts. Society rewards extroverted, reactive behavior. Think of the charismatic leader or the outspoken influencer. These archetypes align with cultural norms that equate visibility with trustworthiness. In contrast, the unreadable individual who chooses silence over spectacle is seen as a threat to these norms. Their restraint challenges the assumption that everyone must perform to be valid, exposing the fragility of social scripts. This deviation breeds distrust, as people struggle to categorize or control someone who doesn't conform to expected patterns of behavior. The paradox lies in how this trait elicits both fear and respect. Stillness, with its aura of self-control, can be magnetic, commanding attention without demanding it. Yet, what cannot be predicted or controlled sparks fear. Unlike love, which can waver, fear of the unknown enforces a reluctant obedience, an unspoken acknowledgement of power. Those who embody this trait often wield influence not through force, but through their ability to unsettle, making others question their own assumptions. This fear fuels attacks and gossip. People lash out at what they cannot decode, using rumors to diminish the power of the unreadable. Gossip becomes a tool to restore control, reducing the enigmatic to something tangible and flawed. By labeling the silent as aloof, manipulative, or cold, society neutralizes the threat of their unpredictability. Ultimately, the fear of this dark trait reveals more about society's need for conformity than it does about the trait itself. Developing the dark trait: emotional detachment and mastery. Emotional detachment is not about suppressing emotions or becoming numb. It's about mastering your emotional responses to maintain clarity, control, and power in any situation. This skill, often associated with the dark trait, allows you to navigate high-stakes scenarios with precision, projecting strength while concealing vulnerabilities. Developing this trait requires deliberate practice, self-awareness, and resilience. Training emotional detachment. 1. Practice restraint and silence. Restraint is the cornerstone of emotional detachment. Train yourself to pause before responding, especially in emotionally charged situations. Silence is a powerful tool. It creates space for observation and prevents impulsive reactions. Start by consciously delaying verbal responses in conversations, focusing instead on listening and processing. Over time, this builds an aura of control and unpredictability, enhancing your presence. 2. Observe without rushing to react. Cultivate the habit of observing situations objectively, as if you're an outsider. This involves stepping back mentally to assess emotions, motivations, and dynamics without being swept away. Practice by analyzing interactions in real time. Note body language, tone, and intent without immediately engaging. This sharpens your ability to stay composed and strategic. Detachment versus numbness. Detachment is not emotional numbness. Numbness involves shutting down emotions, leading to disconnection and apathy. In contrast, detachment means staying fully present and aware while choosing which emotions to express. It's about feeling anger, fear, or joy, but not letting them dictate your actions. This balance allows you to remain engaged, yet sovereign, responding deliberately rather than reactively. Building sovereignty. Sovereignty comes from owning your presence and controlling what you reveal. By mastering emotional detachment, you decide when to show vulnerability, strength, or neutrality, making your actions intentional and impactful. This involves waiting for the perfect moment to act, akin to a predator striking with precision. Patience amplifies your influence, as others perceive you as calculated and unshakable. Practical steps: mindfulness and meditation. Daily meditation trains your mind to observe thoughts and emotions without attachment. Start with 10-minute sessions, focusing on your breath to anchor yourself in the present. Controlled breathing. In tense moments, use slow, deep breathing to lower your heart rate and maintain clarity. Try the 4-4-4 method. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Self-reflection. Journal nightly to analyze emotional triggers and responses. Identify patterns and strategize how to handle them differently. Embrace failure and pain. View setbacks as training grounds. Each failure teaches resilience. Each moment of pain sharpens your ability to endure without breaking. Silence during these moments builds inner strength, as you learn to process discomfort privately. Over time, these practices forge emotional mastery, transforming you into someone who commands respect through calm, calculated presence. Detachment becomes a tool for power, not a shield from feeling. Developing the dark trait: emotional detachment and mastery. Emotional detachment is not about suppressing emotions or becoming numb. It's about mastering your emotional responses to maintain clarity, control, and power in any situation. This skill, often associated with the dark trait, allows you to navigate high-stakes scenarios with precision, projecting strength while concealing vulnerabilities. Developing this trait requires deliberate practice, self-awareness, and resilience. Training emotional detachment. 1. Practice restraint and silence. Restraint is the cornerstone of emotional detachment. Train yourself to pause before responding, especially in emotionally charged situations. Silence is a powerful tool. It creates space for observation and prevents impulsive reactions. Start by consciously delaying verbal responses in conversations, focusing instead on listening and processing. Over time, this builds an aura of control and unpredictability, enhancing your presence. 2. Observe without rushing to react. Cultivate the habit of observing situations objectively, as if you're an outsider. This involves stepping back mentally to assess emotions, motivations, and dynamics without being swept away. Practice by analyzing interactions in real time. Note body language, tone, and intent without immediately engaging. This sharpens your ability to stay composed and strategic. Detachment versus numbness. Detachment is not emotional numbness. Numbness involves shutting down emotions, leading to disconnection and apathy. In contrast, detachment means staying fully present and aware while choosing which emotions to express. It's about feeling anger, fear, or joy, but not letting them dictate your actions. This balance allows you to remain engaged, yet sovereign, responding deliberately rather than reactively. Building sovereignty. Sovereignty comes from owning your presence and controlling what you reveal. By mastering emotional detachment, you decide when to show vulnerability, strength, or neutrality, making your actions intentional and impactful. This involves waiting for the perfect moment to act, akin to a predator striking with precision. Patience amplifies your influence, as others perceive you as calculated and unshakable. Practical steps: mindfulness and meditation. Daily meditation trains your mind to observe thoughts and emotions without attachment. Start with 10-minute sessions, focusing on your breath to anchor yourself in the present. Controlled breathing. In tense moments, use slow, deep breathing to lower your heart rate and maintain clarity. Try the 4-4-4 method. Inhale for 4 seconds, hold for 4, exhale for 4. Self-reflection. Journal nightly to analyze emotional triggers and responses. Identify patterns and strategize how to handle them differently. Embrace failure and pain. View setbacks as training grounds. Each failure teaches resilience. Each moment of pain sharpens your ability to endure without breaking. Silence during these moments builds inner strength, as you learn to process discomfort privately. Over time, these practices forge emotional mastery, transforming you into someone who commands respect through calm, calculated presence. Detachment becomes a tool for power, not a shield from feeling. In a world where noise often masquerades as strength, the timeless wisdom of stillness stands apart. This essay has explored how loudness betrays weakness, rooted in insecurity and a need for validation, while stillness reflects true power, grounded in self-mastery and quiet confidence. We've seen that real strength lies not in dominating conversations or projecting force, but in emotional detachment, strategic restraint, and the ability to command a room through presence alone. Machiavelli's teachings, emphasizing calculated silence and disciplined control, resonate profoundly in today's chaotic, attention-driven culture. His insights remind us that power is not shouted. It is cultivated in the spaces between words, where influence takes root. To embody this, practice restraint. Listen more, speak less, and let your actions carry weight. Master your emotions, for they are the reins of your power. Own your presence by being deliberate, not reactive. In a society desperate for attention, the disciplined individual who observes, reflects, and chooses their moment wields unmatched influence. Embrace this path, and you will not only navigate the world's noise, but rise above it. In a world desperate to be heard, the man who listens and says less holds all the power.